Okay, so you're looking for an apartment to buy and you ask the real estate agent about the strata levies, and the strata levies are high. Is that good or bad? We're going to talk about it right now. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How you going?
Good.
Big topic for today.
Strata. First of all, most importantly, soccer.
So, yeah, the big talk at the moment. I must say, the Aussies did well on the weekend. The Aussies did really well.
Well done. Now, City of Sydney put on a big event down at Darling Harbour near the IMAX Theatre, and I went down there at 6 a.m. And boy, was that an event worth. Well done to everyone who attended, and well done to the players. Far out.
Well, I don't think there was really an expectation there. The fact that we made it that far, win or lose that game, I think everyone was super proud and super happy, and we put up a good fight.
Yeah, it was good run for the Butler.
That's it. And it's the first big event like that since COVID, in terms of, I can't remember the last time in Sydney CBD, something like that, where there's heaps of people. And it's nice to see these sorts of events come back now, because they were a thing of the past couple of years. So it's good to see them coming back, bring everyone together.
We lost it in 2021 and majority of 22. So it's good to see normalisation.
Exactly. So today, strata rates.
Yes.
So guys,
it's your topic.
I know. So today we're going to be talking about strata rates, and the reason why I brought this one up with Mark this morning is I think it's a really crucial thing to talk about, and something that I think for a lot of, especially buyers that have not been in the marketplace very long, looking at properties, something that it's good to understand. Because a lot of people, when they're looking at strata, just look at it on face value, aka are the strata rates high, are they low? And that's how they make their decision whether they think it's a good property or not.
There are people out there that look for high strata level levies and troublesome blocks so they can buy a bargain.
True. And just because it's got a high strata levy doesn't necessarily mean whether the block's good or bad. And I think because when we're speaking with buyers, to give you an idea, as agents, we provide a strata report for a lot of these properties that we're showing. And for a lot of buyers that are out there, before they even look at the strata report or even think about the strata, when they inquire on a property, they go, what are the strata rates? And sometimes if they're above what they think, yeah, it is my favorite topic, Lisa. If they think it's too high for what they're wanting, even if it's maybe $100 or $200 a week, more than what they were expecting it to be, they go, oh, no, I don't want to look at that property. And what you can really be doing is shooting yourself in the foot, where it could actually be a really, really great strata.
Yep. And look, I think it's a bit like everything. The strata levy is not the marker. The price is not necessarily the marker. A lot of the time when people, it's when you put all that stuff together into the purchase, how it actually all looks. It's part of the cake, but it's not the be all and end all ingredient. And strata is even like that within itself, where Luke's brought up. You've got special levies, so you may be attracted to a building because it's got low strata, but then there's big singular special levies that have been paid or due to pay. So I think you can't look at strata levies in isolation. You've got to look at them basically with everything else that's involved in the building. So Michael, how would you do that? So say you see a building and you go, shit, that's a really nice low strata, or the opposite. How would you then dig deeper? Are there questions you're going to ask the agent, or what are the things that you do?
100%. Well, it starts obviously when you first 3-0 England are up. So guys, it starts first of all, ask the agent, obviously, because a lot of people, when they first start, they inquire on realestate.com or Domain, or digitally, they go to the agent, hey, what are the strata rates? Understand what the strata rates are. Come and have a look at the property. That's first of all. There's no point digging into all the strata if you don't even like the property that you're going to come and look at. Come and look at it, see if you like the property. If you do like it, then dig a little bit deeper. Guess what are the strata rates? Ask what's in the sinking fund. What planned works have they got coming up? What have they done in the past? Look at the way they present the common areas. You really want to... So,
is it a stupid question asking how much strata levies are?
No, I don't think it's a stupid question, but I think it's one very small piece of the puzzle. It's great to know because it's obviously your outgoings, but in isolation, it means absolutely nothing in terms of whether a strata is great or bad. There's so many other things hidden, other layers beneath it that will affect it.
So important. I've got a kindy at the moment that we're selling. It's a $4.3 million kindy, and it has a rent coming in of almost $300,000.
Big rent.
So it's over a 7% triple net return. The tenant pays for the strata levies. The tenant pays for the fit out inside, maintaining the fit out inside. The tenant pays for land tax. The tenant pays for everything. People have an issue with the strata with strata itself and the strata levy, even though the tenant's paying it. And I look at that and I think, and like Lisa said in her comment here, strata is swapping out money for time. So it's programmed. Yeah, it's programmed maintenance for the outside of the building, and programmed maintenance for the outside of the building, if it's programmed and done, and it's done economically, is very, very good. Because it just means that you're not out there, you're not going to get hit for replacing the roof, or you're not going to get blindsided by repairs or maintenance because they're maintained and run and done by professionals. So, I think people are going to be really selective on strata. Educate yourself on strata. If the levy is high on strata or low on strata, understand why. A strata searcher is a great person to do that for you. You can imagine someone who's doing thousands and thousands of strata searches. They get really good at sniffing the bullshit at the well-run blocks and the bad-run blocks. Michael, what does a bad-run strata block lead to? Does it lead to high levies, low levies? What does a badly run strata look like?
I've actually seen both. I've seen badly run stratas with the lowest levies you can imagine. I've seen badly run blocks with the highest levies you can imagine. And I'll go on both examples just so people can understand. You might see a block, a little 2-bedroom apartment, and it's got levies of only $600 per quarter. And you go, wow, that seems really cheap. Like in terms of my outgoings are really great with that one there. And then when you go to look at the strata report, it turns out because it's an older block, let's say the balconies have concrete cancer, but they only have a little amount of money in the sinking fund, only let's say $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, maybe for a block of 10, for example. And the work's going to cost $300,000 to repair. All of a sudden, your very, very cheap strata there, you're going to be paying a special levy of potentially tens of thousands of dollars towards it that you would not have known about if you were just looking at purely what the strata rates were. And then all of a sudden you go, wow, we're thousands and tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket. So that's a really extreme example on the low strata levy side. And then I've seen badly run blocks where they have high strata levies, and maybe they haven't been saving adequately in the past, or their expenditure's blown out, and now they're having to put up their strata rates to save up more. And I can give you the inverse for both those as well. But it's more about the health of the block. It's really about A, how have they managed their finances, and B, how are they managing it coming up forward as well. Because I think what a lot of people struggle to realize is as well, you're not the ones doing the work to the block. A lot of times when things are happening with the block, unless it's something very major right there in your apartment, it's a roof leaking into or something, the works that take place really are sort of obsolete to your living. It's not going to affect your day-to-day living. It's just going to affect your pocket. And you just got to understand, well, how much money is going to come out of my pocket, short-term, medium, and long-term, account for it, and then move forward.
It could also be a tax deduction for you if you're an investor. So I've actually had owners that have lived in buildings. Talk to your accountant on this, guys, to see if you're eligible for this. But I've had people that have happily lived in a building they've been there's been some big repairs and maintenance to go on in the building, so they've moved out in order to make it an investment, in order to make it a deductible. So which is, sometimes, and you know what, some of these high strata levies, it could also mean that the building's going to look sexier, that it's going to be a value add to the building. So you could be spending a couple of $1,000 and you could be making a couple of $1,000 because your unit's getting an intercom or it's getting repainted, so I think it's really, really important to look at the value add proposition. I know Luke's mentioned it this morning, that he's attracted. Where is he? Yeah. Luke said he actually is attracted to it because there sometimes can be a value proposition or a value add by those levies, by the building being a bad building, because you're buying it as a bad building and it will end up sometimes as a good building. So he's sometimes as a buyer's agent or as a buyer, that's actually quite attractive. So you'd never think that.
100%. And Louina made another good comment as well. If Strata's run independently or it's run by and managed by an owner-occupier. That's the thing. So when you're looking at Strata as well, obviously there's the Strata committee, there's normally the Strata company that's running it as well. And you want to see the way that they manage it also, because what you'll find is sometimes, and you can see this in the minutes as well, when a committee, maybe, let's say there's works that need to be done to a block. And I've seen blocks where they just keep sweeping under the rug. The strata rates are pretty reasonable. They've got lots of money in the sinking fund. Once again, in theory, it looks all great. But then there's all these works that they were meant to do to the block they should have probably done. But everyone's going, no, we don't want to spend the money. Let's just save it. Versus maybe a block that's gone, hey, these things are coming up. Let's spend the money, get onto it now. A, the block presents better. B, it means it's going to save us more money in the long term. Yes, your balance sheet doesn't look as good right this very second, but over the next 10 years, you're actually saving money and you've got a better block.
A top-notch lawyer told me once, equity comes with clean hands. Now, if you look at how much equity people have personally themselves that are sitting on the Strata committee, all of the owners on the committee, they all have a hell of a lot of interest in that property and making sure it actually works and goes okay. So it's always going to work out generally okay, because everyone's going to have good intentions because they've all got equity tied up in that property. So even though you freak out when you have one, even though people freak out when they see a Strata, I still don't freak out because I think, you know what, there's 10 units of $1 million in there. There's $10 million of equity in there. Those people are going to be making the right decisions most of the time for that block because they've got best interest tied up in it.
And probably the last point I want to make on it, and it's probably the biggest one in terms of what I find is the difference in strata rates, is you got your admin fund and you got your capital works fund. So put simply, your admin fund is your day-to-day runnings or month-to-month runnings of the block, things that are always being spent. What I find is most blocks, and I'll use DY as an example, Northern Beaches, for apple units, a little 2 better, a big 2 better, a big 3 better, a little 1 better. Most of them, funnily enough, for similar size units, because it's based off how big your unit is, your rates. For similar size units, the admin fund is actually almost not identical, but within probably a couple $100 for pretty much every single block across the beaches. And the biggest difference is the capital works fund. So to give an example, an admin fund for a block might be, for a 2-bedroom unit, might be $650 a quarter they're spending towards the admin side of things. Then they might have $300 a quarter that they're saving towards their capital fund. So that block's strata's $950 a quarter. The biggest thing that's going to switch a block, whether it's going to have 750 levies a quarter or 1,200 levies a quarter, is going to be that capital works fund. And so I've found that just because it's a cheaper strata, sometimes that means they're not saving the money into the capital works fund, or it's a higher strata and it turns out, hey, they've actually saved up a lot of money because they want to be on top of it. That's probably the biggest difference in terms of strata rates. Looking in isolation in terms of what the rates are, is how much money are they actually saving.
Question, what's Abby asking?
Should the government impose a minimum capital works saving for all blocks so there's more transparency for buyers?
Yeah, there is now. So now they used to run body corporates, sometimes used to run negative. and there's been some legislation that's come from that saying it's not allowed anymore. But again, Abby, like, you do find that, I'll say it again, equity comes with clean hands. People have got a bucket load of their money tied up in these blocks. They're not they don't always act, most of the time they're not acting stupid with that. Before we go, how much should someone expect to spend on a 1-bedroom unit worth $500,000 with strata levies?
It's funnily enough, the range is really starting to widen, anywhere between 600 probably up to about 1,000 a quarter on average.
How much does someone expect to pay on a 2-bedroom unit worth $800,000?
800 to 1,200 per quarter.
How much should someone expect to pay for a little slightly penthousey 3-bedroom worth $1.5 million in DY?
1,100 to 1,500. Rough ballpark. Bear in mind, guys, these extremes can go either side as well. They can go a lot more or potentially a little bit less, but majority of them will fall in those sorts of rough ranges.
And I'll tell you what cheap strata looks like. Take off the zeros, and that's cheap strata. So if it's a $600,000 property and it's running 600 a quarter, that's a pretty cheap strata. So anywhere upwards from there. Luke says they do in Queensland. New South Wales is terrible. Answering Abby's question, and Queensland has to follow Capital Works report. New South Wales doesn't.
Interesting.
So
it's good in terms of the more regulation they put around it for this sort of stuff, it does save people almost from themselves. Like you said there, Mark, obviously everyone has a vested interest in it, but the nature of anything, some people run it really, really well, some people don't. And back to, I guess, our original point, just because it has high strata does not necessarily mean it's bad.
So all in all, in conclusion, before we go, it's not one ingredient in the strata cake. It's a whole bunch of ingredients cooked together. And hopefully we taught you today how to look at what ingredients are important.
Exactly.
Thanks, Michael.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
Have a great day, man. See ya. Bye.
Bye.